the saga Scriptorium at Skalholt. Tonight, we are going to a valley in the south of Iceland, wide and flat and ringed by mountains that have gone soft and blue with distance. It is autumn there, and the afternoon light is the low gold kind that seems to come from everywhere at once. You do not need to hold on to anything from today. No lists, no unfinished conversations, nothing that needs deciding. Just let your weight sink into whatever is holding you right now. Your bed, your chair, the dark behind your eyes. There is a small room waiting for you at the edge of an old cathedral, and no one is expecting you to be anywhere else. Let's begin. You arrive at Skalholt in the early afternoon, when the sun has already started its long slide toward the mountains, but hours of light still remain. The valley opens around you, flat and wide and green gold, with the mountains standing back at a respectful distance, patient, blue-grey, softened by the particular haze that autumn brings to this part of the world. The air smells of cut grass gone dry, of turned earth, of something mineral underneath it all. The cathedral rises white against the sky, modest compared to the ones you may have seen elsewhere, but it wears its history quietly, without needing to announce it. Bishops once ruled from here. Scholars copied manuscripts by candlelight through winters you can only imagine. Now it stands mostly alone in its valley, visited by the occasional traveller, watched over by mountains that have seen every version of it. You walk the gravel path toward the entrance, and your footsteps sound unusually loud in the stillness, simply because there is so little else to hear. No traffic, barely any wind, just a faint movement of air that stirs the grass at the path's edge and then settles again. Somewhere far off, a sheep calls once, twice, and falls silent. Inside the cathedral, it is cool and dim, the kind of cool that feels like relief rather than cold. Light comes through tall windows in long pale columns, catching dust that drifts slowly through the air. You pause there for a moment, in the hush that old stone buildings hold on to, before a woman appears from a side door. The curator, though she does not introduce herself that way. She simply smiles, says something about the museum being just below, and gestures for you to follow. The stairs down are narrow and worn smooth in the middle, the way stone wears when generations of feet have chosen the same path. She talks a little as you descend, mentioning the depth of the foundations, the age of the walls, but her voice is soft, unhurried, the voice of someone who has given this same small tour many times and never once resented the repetition. You are grateful for that quality in her. She seems entirely focused on what she is about to show you, nothing else pulling at her attention. The room at the bottom is small, lower ceilinged than the cathedral above, lit by careful lamps that throw a warm, even glow, rather than anything harsh. Glass cases run along the walls and down the center, and inside them, laid open under the soft light, are the facsimiles, careful, faithful reproductions of manuscripts that are, in their true form, kept elsewhere, guarded, too fragile now for open air. But these copies are close enough to the truth that looking at them catches you off guard. Njáls' Saga is open on the left, the vellum pages the color of old cream, faintly mottled with the grain of the calfskin it came from. The script marches across each page in tight, disciplined lines, brown ink faded to something between rust and amber. Each letter formed by a hand that has been dust for 8 centuries. The curator points out a word here, a chapter break there, tells you this is where the story of Gunnar begins. This is where the fire is described, though she does not dwell long on the plot. She seems to understand that what matters most in this room isn't what the words say, but that they were said at all. Written by candlelight, in a country where winter takes up half the year, by someone who believed the story deserved to survive them. Beside it, Egils' Saga, the letters slightly different in character, a different hand, a different rhythm to the lines. You lean closer without meaning to. Up close, the vellum shows its small imperfections, a vein that once carried blood beneath the skin of some long-dead calf, now flattened into a pale line that the scribe simply wrote around, unbothered, as though it were just another part of the page. The curator lets you look for a while, answering the occasional question you ask, though you find you do not ask many. Mostly, you just look. She tells you gently that the original manuscripts, the wet vellum ones, the true relics, required careful handling even in their own time. That copying itself was an act of devotion. A monk or scholar bent over a desk for months, sometimes years, translating memory and story into permanent form, using nothing but a quill, ink made from oak galls, and the enormous patience required to make each letter align with the one before it. Eventually, she checks the time on a small watch at her wrist and tells you without apology that she has other rooms to open, other small tasks the museum requires of her. She asks if you'd like to stay a little longer. You say yes. She smiles again, tells you to take whatever time you need, that the room isn't going anywhere. Her footsteps recede up the worn stone stairs, and then there is only you, the manuscripts, and the low, steady hum of the lamps. The quiet that settles afterward is different from the quiet before, full now, instead of empty. You sit down on the small bench in the center of the room and let your eyes travel slowly across the nearest case. Njáls Saga, Egils Saga, words written by hand, on skin, in a farmhouse or a monastery somewhere in this same country, centuries before anyone imagined a room like this one, or a person like you sitting quietly beneath it. You find yourself thinking about the hands that wrote these words, not urgently, not with any need to solve or understand anything. Just a slow curiosity with nowhere in particular to go. Someone sat exactly where you are sitting now, or somewhere very like it, through a long winter, dipping a quill again and again into dark ink, forming each letter with a patience that modern life rarely asks of anyone. They could not have known that their work would outlast every person they loved, every roof they slept under. They simply did the work in front of them, one word after another, because the story mattered, and because someone, eventually, might want to read it. The light in the room does not change much. It is designed to stay even, protective of the pages. But you can feel, somehow, that outside the afternoon is deepening. The valley above you is holding on to the last of its gold. You picture it, without needing to climb the stairs to check, the grass gone amber at the edges, the mountains turned a deeper blue. The cathedral's white walls catching the low sun and holding it a moment longer than the ground around it. Somewhere out there, the sheep that called out earlier is probably grazing again, unbothered, exactly where it was. You stay much longer than you meant to. Time in this room seems to move differently, not slower exactly, but softer, without the usual edges that mark 1 minute from the next. One scribe's letters lean slightly forward, eager, almost hurried. Another's stand perfectly upright, careful, unhurried, each one a small act of discipline. On one page, the ink has pooled slightly, where the scribe's hand must have paused just for a moment before continuing on. You wonder what they were thinking in that pause. Whether they looked up, the way you are looking up now, at nothing in particular, simply resting between one thought and the next. There is no urgency to leave. No line forming behind you. No closing time pressing in. The lamps hum their low, steady hum. The glass cases hold their pages in perfect, patient stillness, just as they have for years, and will for years after you've gone. Your shoulders soften. Your breathing slows to match the room's rhythm. Somewhere above you, the valley is still holding on to the last of the afternoon, and you find you're in no hurry to let go of it either. Eventually, you rise, slowly, the way you might rise from a chair beside a fire you are reluctant to leave. You climb the worn stone stairs back into the cool hush of the cathedral, where the tall windows have taken on the deeper amber of late afternoon, and then out through the heavy door into the valley itself. The light has shifted, but only slightly. Still gold, still low, still holding. The mountains have not moved. The grass still smells of autumn. Somewhere behind you, in that small quiet room, the manuscripts remain exactly as they were, pages open, ink steady, waiting for whoever comes next. If you're still with me, I hope you can feel that stillness now, the way it settled over that small room and never quite lifted. There is no need to hold on to anything from tonight either. Just let the valley keep its light, and let yourself keep drifting. I'll bring you somewhere else quiet again before long. Sleep well.